Yeah. So, welcome. Thank you for being here and thank you for being a part of my collection of beautiful people that inspire me and uplift me and bring me joy. And I wanted to kind of share that with the world, or my small world of followers that, follow me. And sometimes I feel that not everyone gets to experience the beautiful people that surround you.
Yeah.
So I want the people that follow me to experience what I do every day by surrounding myself with people like you.
Oh, come on.
So yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself and say what you do, and we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me into your space and even to have this conversation. You know how I feel about you. I just love that everything you do always has so much intention and it has so much texture, and I'm just into living a life of impact. We can chase a lot of things in our lives, but how impactful are they? And I think that you're one of the people that I observe and I've experienced that really live and do things with impact. And I love that you want to make sure that it matters and somebody's going to get something meaningful out of it. And so I just love that about you. And because of that, I'm honored that, to be here. And I'm Johanne Wilson.
Yes, Johanne Wilson.
And I'm a lot of things. I think probably one of my most prized roles or hats that I wear is that the hat of motherhood. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a pastor, newly appointed or assigned a pastor, not by any person, but from a divine sensibility standpoint. I'm a designer by trade. I went to art school, like straight up, all the way through.
Yeah.
And
what did you study in art school?
Fine arts and design.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had my degree is Master of Fine Arts.
And you're a pastor, but tell us the story of that, because this story is just it's so crazy. It's crazy how life just hands you something and you kind of just got to run with it. And I think that's what you did when you created, your brand Cool. And now, if I'm not mistaken, the church is called Cool, right?
Yeah,
Which
Cool
is
Church.
so cool. Like,
right?
how
nuts.
amazing, and you've created this brand that has deeper meaning, which I think we're so lucky that we very much relate there, because with Angel watching over me, I created AWOM, which is just a lifestyle of clothing and design and a co-working space and women and empowering people. And then you did the same with Cool and how it's transformed into a church.
I'm telling you, it's so like AWOM, Cool stands for created out of love. Because that's just where we create from. That's who we were made in. I believe that we are made by the Most High God,
right?
And He created us with love in us, and that love is Him inside of us.
So I'm gonna stop you there, because created us with love in us. I love that, because I just had a conversation with my nail technician about this, because she said, so I grew up, with a lot of different color friends, different backgrounds, different everything, and my son also, and has a best friend who's black, but his best friend who's black always makes comments about him being white. And she said, it makes me uncomfortable because I feel like the parent teaches them that, right? Do you feel the same, that from a young age, we teach someone not to love? Because we were created with love, like you say, that's how I feel. So we teach to be angry or do something bad, or that something is bad from the jump.
I mean, I think in this particular state, I think that yes, we are all created out of love, in love, to love, right? And in that particular instance, I don't necessarily think that it's a language of hate, but it's a language of trying to relate. A lot of times, especially with young people, they're trying to find themselves. They're trying to find their way and navigate their way around people and relating to people, right? And so sometimes those comments, where they're always acknowledging a race or a color or whatever it is, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's on one hand, it could be a defensive thing.
Right.
It's like, okay, if I say it first, then no one can come at me with it. But then it can also be a matter of like, okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Like it might even be nervous energy. Sometimes when you're nervous, you kind of say things like, oh, well, we all know I'm fat, or I even made a comment about like, okay, just as long as I don't look fat, because that's an area that I'm aware of and I'm insecure about. If I'm on and so it manifests itself in a joke or a conversation.
I'm guilty of it in so
many
ways,
we all are. Absolutely.
Right. But I love that you said created with love in us, because I think that we live in such a time where there is so much hate, but we need to revert back to our
origins.
Yes, where as kids we didn't see that, we didn't feel that. We create these feelings of not loving ourselves or not loving others, right? And I think we need to revert back to that. We were created out of love. I love that.
Yeah, and I think the more we teach, we do teach our kids love and who they are, and unfortunately, we teach our kids hate as well.
Yes.
So I think that's where we get into trouble, because their instinct, if I'm really getting a little bit deep into this, is that we are created out of love, but we are also born in sin. So there is a human part of us that also might be selfish or want things to be their way, or prideful. And so we also have to remember that humanity inside of us, that part of us, is not bigger than the love and the God that's inside of us.
That's almost like ego, right?
And
it's
that's
about
pride.
And I think we can totally learn to drop our egos and who we think we are, what we think we should have, or what we deserve to have.
Absolutely. And I think it's a daily fight. It's like you have to renew your mind every single day.
And that's okay.
And that's all right.
That's okay.
Because we are still human, and that humanity doesn't necessarily, it does in a sense make us weaker, but we are made strong as we more and more draw on the strength of the one who created us.
And even growing, as we grow, as we get older, we learn. And we learn every day. It doesn't matter what age, what time period, what, from your experiences or your struggles.
Absolutely.
That is when I feel you learn most.
Of course.
Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. I think when we use those things as stepping stones and not stumbling blocks, right?
I always say your struggle is your superpower.
Of course.
Because how do you use that struggle?
Absolutely. It's what makes you uniquely you, right? It's like the thing that you can speak out of. We're saying struggle, but it's like the things that you're walking through. And it's not necessarily keeping you back, as long as you're moving forward. That is your superpower, and that is what you can speak to. And I think people understand and relate to other people more when they've been through something, right? Isn't it hard for you to actually take any kind of advice or hear anybody from somebody that you feel hasn't
experienced what you have?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that is a superpower. I like that.
Yeah. And so what's something that you've been through, your struggle, that manifested into a superpower, or something like deep, like a story you remember that really, even if it's something small, because I feel like sometimes we overlook those, but they really made a true impact in our life. What's something you've been through?
Well, a while, when I was 15, Mom and Dad split, and that was, that's a process that doesn't just happen now, right? And so it came out when Mom went missing. Like, she was MIA one day, and at this time they were already separated without us even knowing. Like, I have two brothers and a sister, but we didn't even know it was going on. We just thought, okay, Dad is traveling because he's in politics, and so he would come in and out, and didn't know that they were already separated. Long story short, Mom gets a letter about him wanting a divorce, like finalizing the divorce. And
Which must have been very
that was,
difficult.
yeah, and it has to be for anybody, right? This is like your first
Oh,
and
I can't
only,
imagine. I have a stomachache.
right?
Just from, because I get in a fight with, my man, and it hurts me. Like,
Yeah,
deeply hurts me.
like
So,
physically.
oh, physically, like I feel like immobile, right?
Yeah.
When it's just like, I know I love this person so much, and we have to separate, so imagine.
Yeah, and imagine somebody who you've built a life with,
Right.
and
Years.
you have children with, and I mean you can't even imagine what that's like.
No.
So, she the night before she disappeared, she was just like in tears, like just going. I mean, my aunts and her friends were coming in waves to her room, and we're just like, what is going on? We just hear her like going nuts, like
Right.
crying and
Yes.
sobbing,
Yeah.
right? And then the next morning, I promise you this is like a book, I can't write this. The next morning, we wake up to go to school really, really early. It's like 4 or 5 in the morning. And she wakes up with us, which is not common, and she like kisses us. But it was something that was very, it felt different. It was like, well, it was different because she didn't wake up with us like that all the time. We'd go in her room
Did
and
she
say
kiss
bye.
you in the mornings usually?
We would go and say bye, Mom, and but
Right.
she came to the door and she like embraced us, and something just
almost like a
didn't-
goodbye.
that's what it felt like, and that's what it was.
I
That's
feel
what it
that.
was.
I feel that.
So we go to school, and then of course there's where it's time for us to go home. We come home, no one's there, and so we're thinking no big deal, but her car is there. Just days go by, and it just she's not there. We can't get a hold of her. I mean, it was just like gone. And I just remember she had a book that was open to a page, and it was like her devotional book where she would write and meditate and everything. And on it, there was a part that I just remember reading that said, "Leave everything and follow me." And it was just like,
leave everything and
follow me. Exactly. I just never, it was, but as an adult, I understand what that was. That's a scripture, part of scripture that talks about drop all of your things, come and follow me. And there was a part where, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and,
he's saying
follow me. But it was, I don't know that she read it like, okay, I gotta leave all my kids and everything, but I just believe that to this day, and fast forward, everything's fine now, right?
Okay.
Yeah, she's back in our lives and all of
How
that.
long did that take?
That took not too long, about a year for her to like come back, but she had been getting letters throughout the year,
Wow.
and that was like really hard,
Who
especially
took care of you?
Family.
Family.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you
aunts,
weren't left
uncles.
alone?
I wasn't left alone, and then Dad had to come back in and kind of like.
And how
take
was
his
your
work.
relationship with him?
It was fine, and it still is.
Good.
At first, I did resent him. I resented him for, stepping out on the family, because that's what ultimately happened. And throughout the years of forgiveness, which I think is the biggest challenge and milestone or thing that we're going to have to go through, or that we do go through in our lives, is the constant act of forgiveness. We have to constantly forgive ourselves. We have to forgive people we love, people that we work with.
Yeah.
Like, we are walking through a constant state of forgiving people, because the other thing is that we've been forgiven on the flip side.
It's true.
Isn't it? So when I had to go through that process of forgiveness with my dad, it wasn't easy at all. And eventually